Hi everyone, I'm Taylor Hudak with Activism Munich and welcome back to another Julian Assange case update. Just weeks before Judge Vanessa Baraitser will make her decision on Julian Assange's extradition, a shocking new audio recording from August 2011 between Julian Assange and a U.S. State Department attorney, Cliff Johnson, was released by Project Veritas.
Mr. Assange, hello, it's Cliff Johnson.
G'day, Cliff. Thank you for calling back. Yeah, so the situation is that we have intelligence that the State Department database archive of 250,000 diplomatic cables, including the classified cables, is being spread around and is to the degree that we believe that within the next few days it will become public.
The 75-minute phone call further substantiates testimony heard during the extradition hearings that Assange was extremely careful during the redaction process of the State Department cables and exhausted all avenues to ensure that this material was released responsibly. During the call, Assange warns Johnson that the file location to the State Department database archive was being circulated to minor media organizations by a rogue former WikiLeaks employee, Daniel Domscheit-Berg, who was suspended a year prior. The file location would allow for access to the unredacted encrypted cables. However, one would need the decryption key to access the file. Now, a few months prior, in February of 2011, Guardian journalists Luke Harding and David Lee published this decryption key as a chapter title in a book. They had also published the additional secret word. Both the file location and the decryption key allow for anyone to access this material. The Guardian, Der Spiegel, and the New York Times worked alongside WikiLeaks on the State Department cables, which is why Harding and Lee had access to this decryption key. And because the file location was being spread to minor media organizations by this former rogue employee and the decryption key was already made public in the book, there was serious concerns that it was only a matter of time until the unredacted cables were published. Assange and WikiLeaks were unable to change the file location and the decryption key because the file had been placed on BitTorrent sites by WikiLeaks in the past as a defense against denial of service attacks, and a password is not used for the website but for decrypting the actual file. Assange was concerned that within a few days to a week, the full unredacted cables would be public, and so he contacted the State Department to ask them to assist in harm reduction measures.
Our view is that it's more your problem than it is ours, but we have been calling the State Department and the embassy for over a day trying to explain the urgency, and they have not called back other than this call.
Meanwhile, WikiLeaks was engaging in its own safety measures to slow down the publication of the unredacted cables. 24 hours prior to the phone call taking place, WikiLeaks published 100,000 redacted cables to deter incentive for other organizations to publish and to also cause a distraction. WikiLeaks issued legal demands through German attorneys to encourage the former employee to desist. However, WikiLeaks did not have legal standing because the cables are not owned by WikiLeaks. They are owned by the Department of State, and they would have to take legal action. Assange also asked the German publication Freitag to obscure details when writing a story about the circulation of the file location and decryption key. Additionally, Assange encouraged the State Department to inform those who have been in contact with the embassy, and he also asked that the State Department reintroduce measures that would prevent the release of the unredacted cables. Assange suggested that an employee at the U.S. Embassy in England could meet him in Norfolk so he could help provide the file location and decryption key instead of providing it over the phone, which was an unsecure network. The State Department attorney, Cliff Johnson, said they will follow up and send someone to Assange's location. However, this never happened. The State Department did absolutely nothing after being notified by Julian Assange. And eventually, the website Cryptome released the unredacted cables and was the first to publish this material, a fact they admit on their website. Then Pirate Bay and other torrent sites began publishing the documents. Julian Assange and WikiLeaks continued with their redaction program and slowly published the cables after they were released on other sites. And despite reaching out to the State Department and spending many months going through the proper redaction process, Julian Assange is being prosecuted for the publication of these cables under the false claim that he was careless during the redaction process and put lives at risk. During the extradition hearings and during whistleblower Chelsea Manning's trial, it was confirmed that there is no evidence to show that the publication led to anyone being harmed or killed. The prosecution is based on a lie. The truth is, it was Julian Assange who took extensive measures to ensure no one was harmed, and it was the U.S. State Department that chose to do nothing, even after being warned. And while the incarceration and politically motivated prosecution of Julian Assange continues, there have been additional calls on President Trump to drop the charges and pardon Assange. UN expert Niels Melzer issued a letter to the president calling for a pardon, where he reiterates his findings that Assange is a victim of psychological torture and that his health is declining. In the letter, Melzer explains, "I ask because you have vowed, Mr. President, to pursue an agenda of fighting government corruption and misconduct, and because allowing the prosecution of Mr. Assange to continue would mean that, under your legacy, telling the truth about such corruption and misconduct has become a crime." And to add to the list of public figures showing support for Assange, even former vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin has come forward in support of the WikiLeaks founder in a video posted to YouTube.
Hey, this is Sarah Palin up in Alaska, and I am the first one to admit when I make a mistake. I admit that I made a mistake some years ago not supporting Julian Assange, thinking that he was a bad guy, that he leaked material that perhaps he shouldn't, and I've learned a lot since then. And I think Julian did the right thing, and Julian did us all a favor in America, did the world a favor by fighting for what he believed was right, and ultimately he's been proven to be right. He deserves a pardon. He deserves all of us to understand more about what he has done in the name of real journalism, and that's getting to the bottom of issues that the public really needs to hear about and benefit from. Some years ago, I publicly spoke out against Julian, and I made a mistake. Like I say, I've learned a lot since then. I know that it's coming down to the wire and whether he's going to be pardoned or not. I want more Americans to speak out on his behalf and to understand what it is that he has done and what has been done to him as he was working on the people's behalf to allow information to get to us so that we could make up our minds about different issues, about different people. He did the right thing. I support him. And I hope that more and more people, especially as it comes down to the wire, will speak up in support of pardoning Julian. God bless him.
But that's not all. A group of British MPs have requested for a video meeting with Assange prior to the judge's extradition ruling on January 4th. Richard Bergen of the Labour Party issued a letter to the UK Ministry of Justice requesting a video meeting with the WikiLeaks founder. An additional 16 MPs on all sides of the political spectrum have signed the letter, including Angus MacNeil, Jeremy Corbyn, David Davis, and Diane Abbott. The letter comes after a group of parliamentarians met with Niels Melzer on the Assange case and were very concerned with Melzer's conclusion that Assange has been subjected to torture. The letter states, quote, "The case has important implications for press and publishing freedoms," end quote. It also recognizes Assange's journalistic work with WikiLeaks exposing U.S. war atrocities in Iraq and Afghanistan. And in Germany, a group of MPs from all Democratic parties, including Angela Merkel's Conservative Party, have formed a parliamentary working group called Freedom for Julian Assange. This joint initiative seeks to send a clear message of support for the free press, which is at risk due to Assange's possible extradition. And in Assange's home country of Australia, MPs and senators have issued an open letter to President Trump to pardon Julian Assange or prevent the extradition. In the appeal to the president, the letter ends with, "By pardoning Assange, you would allow him to return to his home and his family for the first time in more than a decade." People in positions of power are seeing this case for what it really is, an unprecedented attack on the First Amendment and a means to prevent other journalists from publishing information embarrassing to governments and institutions around the world. Judge Vanessa Baritzer will deliver her ruling on extradition on January 4th at the Old Bailey. Activism Munich has been granted access to cover this decision, so make sure that you do subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to be notified every time we upload. And if you like the work that we have done covering this case, please donate to our organization so we can continue with our independent nonprofit news and analysis. I'm Taylor Hudak with Activism Munich. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next time.
Well, first they are getting Julian, then they will get you, me, everyone. This is a clear struggle for freedom of the press and for the right of citizens to know that which governments are doing behind their backs, supposedly on their behalf.
The circumstances in which he is held in there are an affront to civilization.
So I think this case is absolutely devastating, horrifying, and wide-reaching implications for press freedom and journalism as a whole. And unfortunately, people have already made up their mind about Julian Assange. They're not taking a stand the way they should be.
He is being punished, as is Julian Assange and Edward Snowden, for releasing the truth.
Every single human right of Julian's has been arbitrarily broken. Distortions of procedure, falsification of witness statements, the lot, the whole rotten lot of it.
He's on death row. He will be on death row if he is extradited.
If this man gets extradited to the United States, he will be tortured until the day he dies.
It may now be Julian, and it may now be Glenn Greenwald, but who will be next?
Julian is a publisher. Julian is also a son. He's a friend. He's my fiancé. And a father. Julian needs his freedom. And our democracy needs a free press.
Yes, it is about Julian Assange, but it is much more also about all of you and your children and your families. And 20 years from now, will you still be able to know the truth about what your government is doing? Or when it has become a crime to inform you about what your government is doing with your tax money to other people that have not done anything wrong in their lives?
I'm Taylor Hudak with Activism Munich. I'm in London outside the Old Bailey Courthouse. Hi everyone, I'm Taylor Hudak and I'm outside London's Belmarsh prison.
We are all Julian Assange. How would you know about all the crimes committed in our names if there weren't the billions of leaks published by WikiLeaks?
If wars can be started by lies, peace can be started by truth.
We're going to lock people away facing 200 years in prison for exposing war crimes. What kind of country, what kind of world are we going to live in? So we have to stand up and collectively say no more.
If you're an activist of any kind, right, left, center, an animal rights activist, an environmental activist, a socialist activist, any kind of an activist against global institutions, and you're not capable of setting aside whatever emotional feelings you have for Julian Assange to defend basic press freedom and stand opposed to the efforts of the Trump government and Boris Johnson's Tory government to criminalize the activities of Julian Assange and WikiLeaks and publishing information in the public interest, you are going to create a world for yourself in which the precedents you're now acquiescing to or cheering out of some misplaced hatred for Julian Assange are going to be used against you.
When you're in a dark room, one person switching on the light will make everyone see, right? Don't look for the light somewhere else. Go and switch it on yourself.
We should all thank Julian for his courage and integrity in providing us with this precious gift at great cost to himself, much to our shame.
Think about the opportunities that you have, right? Because there are no heroes. Nobody's going to save you, right? There are only heroic actions. There are only heroic choices. There are only people who moment by moment see bad things and recognize, maybe I can do something. Maybe I can't fix everything, but maybe I can make progress. Maybe I can make things better. Maybe I am the one that I'm waiting for. And as soon as you start thinking like that, you'll realize that you are.
Free Assange, rock and roll.